did a little video to show you a couple things. They're really minor little points, but I thought I could express myself a little bit better in talking rather than writing. Okay. Okay. Let's start with EasyBib. EasyBib is fine to use. There wasn't anything much that I said that connected to EasyBib. EasyBib does make some mistakes though, and I'll show you where when I was thinking about EasyBib, I'll show you where I saw it. Which one? Okay, so look at this one. Emily Ants, building playgrounds that get kids moving, science and news. So, and then notice how it says building playgrounds that building playgrounds that get kids moving. Again here. That kind of repetition where you have the same information twice, that's a kind of tip off to me that a student is using EasyBib, and that shouldn't be that way. The other thing I notice is that science news is it's running together here as sort of as if it's part of the title. It should be italicized, but you don't want a dash there. You would have a period there, and then the date for in MLA format is always day, month, year, 11 APR period 2020. So, and then I'm not sure why it's picking up that building playgrounds. Sometimes the issue is that EasyBib is, a stupid computer, and it doesn't really know when it's looking, within quotes, looking at a web page, it can't necessarily see the elements the way a person could, so that it might not recognize that that's a date here, and so it's putting in the dash, or I don't know. So with EasyBib, I would, especially I'm not sure how much practice you've had with doing citations, but especially sort of at the beginning stages, I would check if you see anything odd like that with the repetition. I would check it with something like the Purdue online Purdue OWL's website, which I've got here. So this is kind of the standard place that most teachers send their students. It's got a good amount of detail if you have odd, unusual circumstances, but it's not as overwhelming as the MLA book itself. So I would, it'll give information about date. For the works cited, these right here in the basic format, I know you can't see my finger, can you? Basic format, books, periodicals, electronic sources, and other common sources in the middle of the page there would be the place you could go to look at some samples. So electronic sources is mostly what we're dealing with here. So it has some basic information at the top, and then if you scroll down, it has different types of sources that you might have. So an entire website is pretty unlikely, but a page on a website is fairly common. That seems to be, I would say that seems to be what you've got here. Science News is a periodical, I think, so maybe this was originally in print, but it doesn't have a volume or a number, and it's not quite done like an online magazine, so I would cite this like a web page. So Science News is the website, and I'm not sure, frankly, where it's getting that date from, because I don't see it here. But anyway, if you go back here, so author, title of the article, the website itself is italicized, URL, and then an access date. The access dates, strictly speaking, are optional in MLA. I think it's a good idea to get in a habit of putting them in case you have an instructor that wants them. It's not wrong to put them, but there are many of these details that are kind of on the picky level. So, all right, so that's the EasyBib. Now let me see what else. So, what I was talking about here at the beginning was were the in-text citations. One, that you make sure that you've got them every place where you need them, so that anytime you have information where you got the idea and or the words, but just the idea is enough, from a particular source, you'd want an in-text citation. So if we go, I'll try to go slow so as not to get you dizzy. Go to paragraph 3. Whoa. Example of these, so talking about design for kids with disabilities of various types. Examples of these designs are ground level experiences and interactions, wide ramps, high and low level sensory play, and much more. In addition to inclusivity, many of the more modern playground design trends is to create themed play areas. So that's not information that you knew off the top of your head, I wouldn't think. I'm assuming that you read that in one of your sources, so you'd want to identify that source with in-text citations, not just as you do up here with the Price Robinson. Okay, so that was the beginning part of what I had to say, to make sure you include citations when you need them. And the other next part, remember that in-text citation needs to pick up the first elements of works cited entry. Okay, so CP, this consumer product safety organization or something like that. So you use that as an in-text citation. That's this one here, public playground safety. Again, I don't think CPSC.gov is part of the title of the article. This is implying that it's part of the title. I would put that as the publisher or something. I had it here, I think. Okay, so it's not part of the title. It's down here as a publisher. I guess there's some debate about whether to call it a publisher or an author. I would be more inclined to call it a publisher myself. So that shouldn't be part of that. But when you're citing it here with your in-text citations, see if I can find where it is. Here in the middle of the page, CPCS 5. So what I should be able to do from these in-text citations is go from here, go down to your works cited. And when I said alphabetize, yes, you've alphabetized them, but what I mean is I'm using the fact that these are alphabetized to be able to identify them. So I'm looking for CPCS and I see Anth's, Price Robinson. And I think, oh, where's CPCS? It isn't here. It's down here. So what I'm looking at, the in-text citation should be this thing. This is what I'm alphabetizing. So I'm looking up a word in a dictionary. I'm looking for the first letter of the word. I'm not looking for something that's buried somewhere here. So it should be public playground safety should be the in-text citation for that one. That's another issue with this one. I don't know if you're going to put quotation marks around it as an article or treat it more like a book. It is fairly, I think it was 62 pages long. It is fairly long, so it's fine, I think, if you wanted to check and see how they do how you're supposed to do pamphlets. Again, so many details. I don't have them all in my head. I don't expect students to have them all memorized either. But if you're going to do it as a booklet, as you do here, public playground safety, parentheses, public playground safety in the parentheses, not the CPCS. That's what I meant by the in-text citation. Let me get back down here. The in-text citation needs to pick up the first element of the works cited entry. The citation seems not correct, so I talked about the dash there. Sorry about all the typos. And as far as page numbers go, if you have something that you got, page numbers belong on anything that you access in paper. For electronic sources, you can use the page numbers if you're using a PDF or something where it has page numbers on it. So that CPCS thing, you could use a page number. But if you are doing something like that ANTHS one, here, you had an ANTHS citation there somewhere that has a page number on it. I'm not going to try to find it here, but this isn't a page. This is a web done as an HTML. It's not broken into pages. So when you say page 2, I think you said, you can't really tell what where a page one starts and one stops. If you printed something out, you'd have page numbers, but they'd be different depending on what browser you were using and what magnification you used. You have the pages would break, not exactly at random, but different places depending on what you were printing. So because it's an electronic source, page numbers aren't so necessary because you can search more easily using Control Fs if you're talking about quotes, for example. So that was that point there. So you check your sources. You seem to see that ANTHS 5. I don't know I don't see what a page 5 looks like. The Price Robinson one is, I'm not sure that had pages either. That's another thing that I'm not sure if this is coming from EasyBib, but normally you wouldn't use those, that affiliation there, Price Robinson Kathy period, not Inc. Building Media. I wouldn't have that at all. I'd just go from Price Robinson Kathy, the evolution of North American playgrounds, etc. And then Continuing Education Center was the name of the website. Okay, so that's it. Sorry to be so long-winded, but I hope that clarifies everything. Let me know if you have any more questions. And yes, you can just go ahead and make those minor changes. It wouldn't have made much of a difference at all, really, to your grade, but if it makes you feel better, go ahead and make those changes. And if you email it to me, in the next few days, that's fine. All right, let me know if you have any questions.